Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Amanda. I'm so glad you're here today because I'm going to be sharing a little bit of an update on my summer TBR and reading plans. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so I have been feeling a little bit of a shift in my reading lately. At the beginning, when I made my summer TBR, I was thinking that I wanted to read some light, fun, fluffy books with a few like thrillers, maybe a horror mixed in there. In the interest of being authentic, I have just been thinking a lot about that lately and about what my brain and my heart are really craving for me to read right now in this moment. I wanted to make a video about it because I think it's important that if I share a TBR, which is a list of books that I think that you should read, that I should read them myself as well. If I'm going to share them with you and if I think they're worthy of me sharing them with you, then they should be books that I at least attempt to read. And while there are a few on my summer TBR list that I will still be reading, the vibe that I'm going for has just changed a little bit. And so I kind of wanted to reflect that in a video to y'all. So I think my mood has shifted to a place where I really am craving a dark and twisty summer TBR. So when I say dark and twisty, I'm kind of talking about, well, first of all, things that are dark and or twisty, but also things that are maybe a little bit scary, maybe get my heart pumping a little bit, and also things that are emotional, right? Things that make me feel things. I don't really know why I have this shift. Maybe, I've thought about it a little bit. I think maybe the summer is everything is so light and it's fun and it's beach and pool and sunshine. So I think to me it's the perfect time of year to read some things that are maybe a little bit darker because you do have, at least where I live, the opportunity for balance in your environment and around you. The days are longer, they're warmer, you're getting more sunshine, that good vitamin D, and so I think that makes it a great time to read more dark and twisty books and emotional books because you do have that balance. So this is just a shift in my mood right now, and it's what my brain needs right now for whatever reason. Maybe by reading these books, I'll get more insight as to why that is, and if I do, I'll let you know. But I wanted to share these books with you today because they are the books that I'm actually going to be attempting to read this summer. They are on my TBR. And so I will link my other video. It's still a great video. It still has lots of good recommendations, and a couple of them I will keep. But yeah, so I'll share these with you, and I would love to hear what you think. So first of all, two books from my original summer TBR that I posted that I would keep are Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. That one, I'll be reading that next. I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I think it's a great summer book. Mostly what I know about it is that it has like killer mermaids. So I think it's a great horror book for the summer, and I have heard a lot of good things about that. And then the other one on that list that I would keep is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I actually started that recently, and it's a thriller, and I'm really loving it so far. I love the way it's written. The chapters kind of give you like the date that it is, so you can really follow the timeline. So I'm assuming that's going to kind of be important as I go on. I'm only, I don't know, 30 to 40 pages in. So I don't really know that much about it yet, but it follows Alex, who is a mother and wife. She turns 45. She goes to a restaurant, and there's another woman there, Josie, who has the same exact birthday as her, and they're both at the same restaurant. And then Josie kind of keeps bumping into Alex, or at least has once or twice. So far in the book, it happens pretty quick in the beginning of the book. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Alex has a podcast about women, and the part I just read is Josie kind of goes and tries to convince Alex that she should be on her podcast. So there's a lot of like, just kind of like things are off so far. Different things about the children and the husbands. Things are just unsettled. And so that's exactly the type of book I want to be reading right now. So I'm going to try to break these books down by genre. And the first book I have is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This book, when was this published? It was published in, oh, okay. So this was published in 1993. It says, Parable of the Sower is the Butlerian odyssey of one woman who is twice as feeling in a world that has become doubly dehumanized. The time is 2025, which is really interesting. The place is California, where small walled communities must protect themselves from hordes of desperate scavengers and roaming bands of people addicted to a drug that activates the desire to burn, rape, and murder. When one small community is overrun, 15-year-old Lauren Olamina, with the hereditary trait of hyper-empathy, which causes her to feel others' pain as her own, sets off on foot along the dangerous coastal highways moving north into the unknown. Ooh, that sounds so good. I think it's super interesting that this book was written in 1993 and set in 2025, since that is next year. I am really excited to get into this book and find out kind of where the main character's journey takes her. Okay, the next book I have is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So this is one that I have seen a lot of different places. I don't know that it's actually dark, but I think there's something about science fiction, and this one in particular takes place in space, that is a little bit, gets your heart racing, gets you, it's different than what a lot of the things that I typically read. And so I think for me, it will serve the purpose that I'm looking for. It says, Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth will perish. What caught me when I was looking at this one in the library, there's a blurb on the back that someone wrote that says, reading Project Hail Mary is like going on a field trip to outer space with the best science teacher you've ever had, and your class assignment is to save the world. This is one of the most original, compelling, and fun voyages I've ever taken. I heard that this is really good on audio, so I think I'm gonna actually listen to it, but I'm really excited to get into that one. Now I have a couple of thrillers that I think will fit into my dark and twisty summer books. The first one is The Mother-in-Law by Sally Hepworth. I have seen books by this author everywhere, so I really want to try one of her books. On the cover it says, everyone in this family is hiding something. A masterful depiction of how much is said in the silences. This one looks really good. I know there's like a murder of the mother-in-law involved, and so I like this because it has the dark and twisty, but it's also mixed with the family dynamics, and I love books that have good family dynamics, so I'm hoping that that's what this will have. All right, the next one that I have is Descent by Tim Johnston. This is on Storygraph. It says it is a dark mystery thriller. It says the Rocky Mountains have cast their spell over the Cortlands, a young family from the plains taking a last summer vacation before their daughter begins college. For 18-year-old Caitlin, the mountains loom as the ultimate test of her runner's heart, while her parents hope that so much beauty, so much grandeur, will somehow repair a damaged marriage. But when Caitlin and her younger brother Sean go out for an early morning run and only Sean returns, the mountains become as terrifying as they are majestic, as suddenly this family find themselves living the kind of nightmare they've only read about in headlines or seen on TV. Ooh, that sounds so good. Again, the family dynamics mixed in with the dark and twisty, heart-pounding stuff. I, in the last year or so, have become a runner, so I think that's really cool that that's in there too. And also it's about a summer vacation, so perfect for summertime. I'm really excited to read this one. I think he has others as well, so yeah, sounds really good. The next books that I'm going to share fall into the horror genre. The first one I have is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This cover is so creepy and so cool and eye-catching, and I love how the end of the pages are black, and it's just really cool on the inside. Definitely looks like a horror book. I don't really know that much about this one. I just know that Shirley Jackson is a really well-known horror writer, and I believe that the house is like a character, so kind of like a haunted house type of story. So it's relatively short, and I am really excited to read this one. All right, the next one I have in the horror genre is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This Storygraph says is it's listed as a horror and historical. That's interesting. I'm interested to see how that plays out. This says, after receiving a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging for someone to save her from a mysterious doom, Noemi Taboada heads to High Place, a distant house in the Mexican countryside. She's not sure what she will find. Her cousin's husband, a handsome Englishman, is a stranger, and Noemi knows little about the region. So that's a good setup and a very intriguing one. I've heard about this on Modern Miss Darcy, Anne Bogle's blog. I'm really excited to read it. I think, again, this one is going to have a house that is a character. So I'm hoping that's true, because I've never really read anything like that before, and I'm really fascinated by that topic. The cover says, masterful, a gloriously moody adventure, spooky, smart, and wry. So I think that is exactly what I'm looking for, and it totally fits in with my kind of dark and twisty theme. The next book that I have is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. This one is a YA horror, and it also says that it is historical on Storygraph. Let's see, I'll read a little bit. It says, Jane McKean was born 2 days before the dead began to walk the battlefields of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, derailing the war between the states and changing the nation forever. In this new America, safety for all depends on the work of a few, and laws like the Negro and Native Re-Education Act require certain children attend combat schools to learn to put down the dead. But there are also opportunities, and Jane is studying to become an attendant, trained in both weaponry and etiquette to protect the well-to-do. It says, at once provocative, terrifying, and darkly subversive, Dread Nation is Justina Ireland's stunning vision of an America both foreign and familiar, a country on the brink at the explosive crossroads where race, humanity, and survival meet. So I love the idea of this book. I love that it has a historical element, but I also love that it combines some different concepts to think about thinking about race and humanity and survival, I am really intrigued to see how the author brings all those into this story. And it definitely sounds like it's gonna have some heart pumping moments and some moments that are maybe a little bit scary, but also knowing that it's YA, it might be one that I start with, just because it's likely to be a little bit maybe horror light. So I'm really interested in this one. I think it's going to be really good. Okay, now I have a couple of fantasy books that seem like they're probably a little bit dark and twisty. The first one is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This is an author that I have wanted to read for a while. I was just looking for the right book to start with. It looks really good, and it says scary, gripping, and deeply unsettling. American Gods takes a long, hard look into the soul of America. You'll be surprised by what and who it finds there. So that sounds like a book that is gonna make me think on some maybe darker topics that I wouldn't normally just be thinking about. And I'm really excited to get into it and see what I think about this author. Another one in the fantasy genre that I have is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I've talked about this one before. I heard about it on the Currently Reading podcast. It is a fantasy mystery, and it says an eccentric detective and her long-suffering assistant untangle a web of magic, deceit, and murder in this sparkling fantasy reimagination of the classic crime novel. I love that it combines like a crime mystery with a fantasy, and then if there's murder in there, that totally fulfills my dark and twisty theme, right? The ladies on the podcast had great things to say about this, so I'm fascinated and I want to get into it as soon as possible. One more book I want to share is a book that I don't know that I would call it dark and twisty, but it is definitely, I think, going to be emotional and something that's right up my alley. It has an elderly main character, and I love that. It is called Sipsworth by Simon Van Bowie. It came out this year. Ever since I heard about it, I've been wanting to get my hands on it, and it looks really good. It says, over the course of 2 weeks in a small English town, a reclusive widow discovers an unexpected reason to live. I think that's definitely going to be an emotional read. It will maybe give me a little bit of a break from some of these scarier, heart-pounding books that I have chosen. This one, it will be a little bit different, but it also, to me, when you're talking about a widow and finding a reason to live, that's a little bit dark, and I think it will also be hopeful. So that's great, and I think, like I said, it will be a perfect little like palate cleanser for some of these heavier, darker books that I will be reading, but it will still fit into my desire to have more emotional reads. Oh, I have one bonus for y'all. One little bonus story. It's not a book. Well, this is a book. Okay, here we go. This is a book called The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. Look at this little book. Isn't it so cute? I love it. I went to pick this up on the shelf, and I thought it was going to be a big book because it is a book of short stories, but it is not. It is, in fact, quite small. I love it, but I got it because I wanted to read The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. That is a book, or a story, sorry, that I heard about on Anne Vogel's podcast, What Should I Read Next? But come to find out, there's a book with a bunch of short stories by Shirley Jackson, who also wrote The Haunting of Hill House. This book has 25 of her short stories in it, and it says dark and nightmarish, Shirley Jackson's short stories represent a singular and ever-powerful genre unto themselves. The Lottery remains one of the most terrifying stories ever published, all the more so for its lucid, convincing realism, and one of the most controversial. It has become an essential classic of American fiction. This selection of Jackson's stories showcases a true master at the height of her haunting powers. Okay, I might be reading all these stories then, because I mean, she sounds like the master of horror. So I think if I'm really going to explore the dark and twisty, then I need to read these stories. I'm really excited to get into this collection. I'm going to start with The Lottery, even though it's the last one in here, and then go from there. This will be the first book of short stories I've ever read, and I just kind of happened upon it, and I'm really excited. All right, so that is my updated dark and twisty summer TBR. I hope that you will come along on this adventure with me. I will for sure report back on these books and let you know. I know a lot of people are hesitant in the horror genre, and totally understandable. Me too. This is really a stretch for me that I didn't see coming, and I will try to let y'all know like which ones I think are good for beginners, maybe, and then hopefully you can go from there, because I think the coolest part about reading and developing your reading life is to try a little bit of everything and have variety. If you have read any of these, I would love it if you would tell me in the comments what you thought and where I should start. For the kindness moment today, I'm gonna finish it out with a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson called What is Success? My grandfather is 99 years old, and he is currently on hospice, and I have been thinking a lot about life and what it means to live a successful one. You know, what does that mean? Because to me, it doesn't mean what job do you have and how much money you made. So I found this poem, and I think it really fits in to what my channel is all about, and I hope it encourages you. So here we go. What is Success by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. So on that note, go out there and be kind to someone today, y'all.